Liam was a quiet boy who often went unnoticed in the bustling hallways of Crestwood Elementary School. With his sandy brown hair and gentle smile, he blended into the background, preferring to observe rather than be the center of attention. But what made Liam special was not just his calm demeanor. It was his unwavering support for his father, who worked as the school janitor. Every evening, after the last bell rang and students rushed home, Liam would stay behind to help his dad clean the classrooms. He cherished these late-night hours spent with his father, noticing how tired he became after long days of hard work. They shared stories while mopping floors and wiping down desks, their laughter echoing through empty halls. The smell of bleach filled the air, and while many would find it unpleasant, to Liam, it meant he was helping his dad. His father had taken this job to provide for their small family. Money was tight, but Liam admired his dad's dedication. They often talked about dreams and hopes during their cleaning sessions. Liam wanted to do well in school so one day he could help his father have a better life. Despite the struggles they faced, their bond grew stronger with each task they completed together. But at school, things were different for Liam. He often felt like an outsider among his classmates. While others chatted excitedly about video games or weekend plans, he usually remained silent, content to sit in the back of the classroom and listen. Some students teased him for being shy or different, but he brushed off their comments. He had his own world filled with dreams, bolstered by the love and support from his dad. On one particularly challenging day, Principal Harris announced that there would be a special assembly. Unbeknownst to Liam, this was not going to be a celebration for him or any recognition of hard work. Instead, it would become a moment of humiliation that he would never forget. The class was buzzing with energy as Principal Harris entered the room. With a smirk on his face, he began making jokes at Liam's expense. "What's that smell?" he asked loudly. "Did someone forget to take out the trash?" Laughter erupted from Liam's classmates as they turned to look at him. Confused and embarrassed, Liam shifted in his seat as Principal Harris continued mocking him for smelling like bleach. The laughter rang in Liam's ears like an unending storm. It felt as if every chuckle pierced through him like sharp needles. He saw some staff members looking away. They didn't want to get involved in what was happening right before them. Liam's heart sank deeper when Principal Harris announced that he would be suspended for disrupting the school's environment. It seemed unfair and cruel. He hadn't done anything wrong except help his hardworking father. That night was a long one for both Liam and his dad as they cleaned in silence. The joy of their shared tasks vanished under the weight of humiliation and sorrow. But change was on its way. The very next morning brought something unexpected. A sleek black car pulled up outside Crestwood Elementary School. From it emerged Alexander Voss, a billionaire with a past tied to these very halls. He had once walked these corridors as a boy much like Liam, quiet but resilient. Alexander had seen the viral video of Liam's humiliation online and felt an overwhelming urge to act. This young boy deserved more than what he received. He deserved respect and dignity. Determined to make a difference, Alexander stepped into the school with purpose. As students gathered around in confusion at this unexpected arrival, whispers circulated about who he was. They sensed that something important was about to happen, a moment that would forever change their lives and restore hope where it had been lost. With determination in his heart and gratitude for the janitor who once saved him decades ago, Alexander prepared to speak out for what was right. The beginning of a new chapter for Liam and a chance for redemption against cruelty that too often goes unchecked in schools. The atmosphere in the classroom shifted when Principal Harris entered. A hush fell over the students, who were buzzing with excitement just moments before. Liam sat at his desk, trying to blend into the fabric of the room, his sandy brown hair falling slightly over his eyes. He felt a familiar sense of unease as he sensed the principal's gaze scanning the classroom. "Good morning, class," Principal Harris said, his voice booming with an unsettling authority. "Today, we have something special for you." The students perked up, but Liam felt a knot tighten in his stomach. He could sense that this assembly would not be about celebrating achievements or learning something new. As if reading Liam's thoughts, Harris turned toward him, a sly grin spreading across his face. "Oh, wait, before we get started, I can't help but notice something interesting about our friend Liam here." The principal stepped closer to Liam's desk, and the room shifted from anticipation to something akin to dread. "What's that smell?" he asked loudly, feigning confusion. "Did someone forget to take out the trash?" Laughter erupted from the classmates surrounding Liam. Their giggles echoed off the walls like a cruel melody. Some pointed at him while others leaned back in their chairs, unable to contain their amusement. Liam's face flushed a deep crimson as he stared down at his desk, wishing he could disappear into it. It felt like all eyes were on him. The laughter ringing in his ears made it hard for him to concentrate on anything else. He wanted to sink into the floor or become invisible. Instead, he felt as if he were on display for everyone to mock. "Is it true?" Principal Harris continued with a self-satisfied tone. "Do you really smell like bleach and trash? Maybe you should stop helping your father clean classrooms at night." The principal's words cut deeper than he realized, not just mocking Liam's scent, but also belittling the hard work he did alongside his dad. The laughter intensified as if it had taken on a life of its own. Some students whispered jokes among themselves while others pointed fingers and snickered openly. A few even imitated Harris's tone, making exaggerated faces that drew more laughter from their peers. The classroom had transformed into a hostile arena where Liam was left to fend for himself. In contrast to the raucous excitement of his classmates, a deafening silence surrounded some of the staff present in the room. They stood by with crossed arms or shuffled papers on their desks, deliberately avoiding eye contact with both Liam and Principal Harris. It was clear they were unwilling to intervene in what they perceived as harmless fun or a lesson in standing up for oneself. An excuse for their silence that left Liam feeling more isolated. As the laughter continued and tears threatened to spill from his eyes, Principal Harris concluded his cruel performance with a flourish. "Liam, I think it's time we take you out of class, just so you can freshen up." And with that dismissive comment anchored with chuckles from students around him, Liam's heart plummeted further. "Wait," he whispered as panic flooded through him like ice water. However, it was too late. The principal had already made up his mind. "Liam," Harris said with an air of authority that brooked no argument, "you're suspended for disrupting the school's environment." The words fell like stones around him, heavy and unyielding. His classmates went silent in confusion at this sudden turn of events, but quickly exchanged glances that conveyed mixed feelings. Some surprised at how quickly things escalated while others still wore grins that hinted at satisfaction over their cruelty. As Liam gathered his belongings and left the classroom under Principal Harris's watchful gaze, he couldn't shake off the weight of shame pressing down on him. With each step away from that classroom filled with laughter mocking him instead of camaraderie and support, he felt a piece of himself shatter, leaving behind only silence and despair as he walked down those once familiar hallways toward an uncertain future. Little did he know that change was brewing just outside those walls, one that would soon challenge everything he thought about respect and kindness within those school doors. Liam often found solace in the quiet and the routine of his evening chores alongside his father. After the last school bell rang, while most students raced home to unwind, Liam eagerly awaited the moment when he could join his dad at Crestwood Elementary. The halls would be empty, save for the echoes of their footsteps as they worked together to clean the classrooms. His father, a dedicated janitor, took great pride in his job, ensuring that every corner of the school was spotless for the students who filled it with laughter and energy during the day. Every sweep of the broom and every wipe of the cloth was a testament to his hard work and commitment. Liam admired his dad's diligence, understanding that it wasn't just about keeping things clean. It was about providing for their family. Money was often tight at home, and Liam knew that their simple life came with sacrifices. His father worked long hours, and sometimes he would come home too exhausted to talk. That's when Liam would quietly help out with chores around the house or prepare dinner, doing his part to ease his father's burden. But it was during their nightly cleaning sessions at school that they truly bonded. They shared laughter, dreams, and stories of resilience under the fluorescent lights of the empty classrooms. "Did you know I used to take out the trash in this very room?" His father would joke as they cleaned, trying to lighten the mood after a long day. "Those kids thought I was invisible," Liam would chuckle, feeling a mix of pride and empathy for his dad's dedication. Each time they finished a classroom, Liam felt a sense of accomplishment, knowing he was contributing to something bigger than himself. Cleaning classrooms late at night also gave Liam a unique perspective on education. He saw firsthand the mess left behind by students: crumpled papers, spilled drinks, and remnants of forgotten lunches. It made him appreciate the importance of maintaining a clean environment for learning. He understood that a tidy classroom could enhance focus and inspire creativity among students. Despite his quiet nature at school, those nights fostered a sense of responsibility in Liam. He didn't mind helping out. In fact, he relished the opportunity to support his dad. Their teamwork reminded him that family meant standing together through thick and thin. Even though he felt like an outsider among his peers during school hours, these moments with his father filled him with purpose. However, Liam's secret work as a janitor's helper was never something he openly discussed with classmates. He feared judgment or ridicule if they discovered how he spent his evenings. The laughter from Principal Harris's comments stung more deeply because they struck at the heart of what he was proud of: the work he did to support his father. To be mocked for something that brought him joy only added to his feelings of isolation. As Liam faced ridicule from Principal Harris and his classmates, all those moments spent cleaning alongside his father transformed into a painful reminder of why he felt different. Instead of feeling proud of the effort he put into helping his dad, he felt ashamed, abandoned by peers who had no idea what it meant to sacrifice for family. Yet, in those moments of despair and humiliation, there lay an unknowing strength within him. Liam's bond with his father was stronger than any mockery from others. It was rooted in love, respect, and hard work. Despite everything that happened in school that day, he held on to that belief tightly as he stepped away from the laughter that echoed behind him. Little did he know that just outside those classroom walls lay a chance for redemption, not just for himself but for all those who had ever felt unseen or unworthy. Change was on its way, fueled by a bond forged in love and sacrifice between a father and son. A bond that would soon challenge the very fabric of how respect and support were defined within those school doors. As the laughter echoed in the classroom, Liam felt a mix of confusion and heartbreak. He looked around at his classmates, hoping for a sympathetic glance or a hint of understanding, but instead, he was met with grins and giggles. The atmosphere was charged with a certain cruel energy, as if Principal Harris's remarks had unleashed something dark within the group. Some students were quick to join in on the laughter, emboldened by the principal's authority. "Maybe he should get a new hobby," one boy shouted, and his remark was met with uproarious laughter. Others chimed in with their own taunts, suggesting that Liam should stop helping his father altogether since it made him smell like a dumpster. Each comment added to the weight pressing down on Liam's shoulders, making him feel smaller and more isolated. In that moment, Liam realized how deeply ingrained bullying could be in a school environment. Instead of standing up for him, many students found joy in tearing him down. The laughter transformed from simple amusement into something more sinister, a shared joke at his expense that bonded them together while pushing him further away. Despite the raucous laughter, there were silent observers among the students, those who hesitated to join in but felt too intimidated to speak up. A girl in the front row looked uncomfortable. She glanced sideways at her friend, who merely shrugged and chuckled along with the rest. Another boy sat quietly with his head down, avoiding eye contact as if wishing he could vanish into thin air. These moments of silence spoke volumes about the fear and complicity that often accompany bullying. Even the staff members present in the room found themselves caught off guard by what was happening. Some teachers shifted uncomfortably in their chairs while others pretended to busy themselves with grading papers or adjusting their glasses. Not one adult intervened during Harris's tirade. Instead, they chose to look away from the painful scene unfolding before them. Their silence only reinforced the idea that such humiliation was acceptable within these walls. "Liam," Principal Harris declared with a mocking tone that sliced through the tension in the room, "you're suspended for disrupting the school's environment." The words hung heavily in the air, wrapping around Liam like chains. It was a punishment that came not from any disruption he caused but rather from being targeted and ridiculed. The classroom fell into an uncomfortable stillness as Liam stood frozen in disbelief. His heart raced as he processed what had just happened. He felt utterly alone amidst a sea of faces that had once seemed so familiar. The laughter faded into a dull roar in his ears as he packed up his belongings, feeling an overwhelming sense of shame wash over him. Outside those classroom doors loomed a world that felt hostile and unwelcoming. But within this moment of despair also lay an important lesson. Bullying thrives when silence reigns supreme. Liam could see it etched across his classmates' faces. The joy they took in his humiliation came not just from mockery, but from a shared agreement to remain silent while one of their own suffered. As he walked down the hallway toward the exit, each step echoed with feelings of betrayal and isolation. He longed for someone, anyone, to have spoken up for him or acknowledged what was really happening. An injustice disguised as humor. Instead, he trudged away feeling more like an outsider than ever before. Little did he know that this very moment would spark change. Not just for him but also for those who had watched in silence. The events unfolding beyond those walls held promises of redemption and awareness. Soon enough, eyes would be opened to the reality of bullying and its harmful effects on individuals and communities alike. Liam may have felt alone at that moment, but change was beginning to stir on the horizon. A movement inspired by one quiet boy's story and fueled by compassion rather than ridicule. As Liam stood there, the sting of Principal Harris's words hung in the air like a dark cloud. "You're suspended for disrupting the school's environment," echoed in his mind, replaying over and over again as he slowly gathered his belongings. The laughter from his classmates faded into a haunting silence, leaving him feeling exposed and vulnerable. With each item he placed into his backpack, his worn-out notebooks, a pencil, and a crumpled piece of paper filled with notes, he could feel the weight of shame pressing down on him. How had it come to this? He had only wanted to help his father, to support their family, and instead he was being punished for it. This punishment felt not just unfair but utterly unjust, as if the very act of caring for his family had become a crime. As Liam walked toward the classroom door, he noticed several students still whispering and smirking, exchanging glances that made him want to shrink into nothingness. It was as if they took pleasure in his downfall, their laughter now replaced with a smirk of satisfaction from having witnessed his humiliation. Liam had hoped for even one familiar face to show compassion, but instead, he felt the weight of isolation more than ever. Once outside, the hallways that had once felt welcoming now seemed alien and cold. The bright posters on the walls, promoting kindness and respect, felt like a mockery of his situation. "We stand together against bullying," they read. Yet here he was being ostracized for something he couldn't control. It made him wonder just how much those words truly meant in a place where adults turned a blind eye and children reveled in cruelty. "Liam!" called one of the teachers as she approached him, her voice filled with concern. "I heard what happened in there." But instead of comfort, her words felt hollow. There was no reassurance that things would get better or that someone would take action against the principal's behavior. Just like the others, she didn't intervene when it mattered. The teacher's gaze dropped as she fumbled with her papers, unable to meet his eyes any longer. In that fleeting moment of connection, he realized he was truly alone. The walls of Crestwood Elementary that had once felt like a second home began to close in on him, suffocating him with their indifference. As he exited the building for the last time that day, Liam's heart sank lower. The world outside seemed brighter and more inviting than the confines of the school, yet he felt an overwhelming sense of betrayal that clung to him like a shadow. The thought that he would have to explain his suspension to his father filled him with dread. How could he face his dad, who worked so hard each day? He was supposed to be making things easier for them both. On his way home, Liam's thoughts spiraled into despair. What would happen now? Would anyone even care about what he had endured? He felt hollow inside, stripped of dignity by those he once thought were friends. The laughter and mockery still echoed in his ears as he trudged along the sidewalk. However, beneath the weight of his humiliation lay seeds of determination. Deep inside him, a flicker of rebellion against this injustice began to grow. Liam couldn't change what had happened. However, he could find ways to channel this pain into something meaningful. Arriving home, he found his dad already there, tired but smiling as he set down a mop and bucket. Seeing the weariness etched across his father's face reignited Liam's sense of purpose. It was time to fight back, not just for himself but for all those who suffered in silence like he did. As they began their evening routine together, cleaning up after another long day at school and work, Liam resolved that this would not be the end of his story. With the bond shared between them stronger than any ridicule could sever, he knew they would unite against any obstacle, because family mattered most. Little did Liam realize that a movement was brewing beyond those school walls. One that would challenge the culture of bullying and demand accountability from those who failed to protect students like him. It was a change fueled not just by anger but by love and resilience. A change that Liam would soon become an integral part of as he transformed his pain into purpose. The following morning, a sleek black car pulled up to Crestwood Elementary, drawing attention from students milling about. The car's polished exterior gleamed under the sunlight, a stark contrast to the dull surroundings of the school. Curious eyes turned toward it, whispering among themselves about who could be inside. It was rare for anything so extravagant to appear in their quiet neighborhood. As the door swung open, an impressive figure stepped out. Alexander Voss, a billionaire known not just for his wealth but also for his philanthropic endeavors. His presence was magnetic, commanding respect and interest from everyone around him. He adjusted his tailored suit and adjusted his tie as he stepped onto the pavement with deliberate confidence. The murmurs among students grew louder as they recognized him from news articles and stories shared in classes. A former student who had left these very halls and made it big. But what struck Liam most wasn't just Voss's fame. It was a certain familiarity that sparked something deep within him. As he watched Alexander stride toward the entrance with purpose, Liam felt a flutter of excitement mixed with apprehension. Could this man really be someone who cared about people like him and his father? The thought seemed almost too good to be true. Voss was a man on a mission that day, and that mission was tied to Liam's recent suffering. Unknown to everyone else at Crestwood, Alexander had watched a viral clip of Principal Harris's mockery directed at Liam. As an accomplished businessman and philanthropist, he was used to confronting injustices head-on and had little tolerance for bullying or humiliation in any form. Upon entering the school, he demanded an immediate assembly, catching faculty and students off guard. Whispers of confusion wafted through the hallways. Why had he come? What did he want from them? The students lined up in the auditorium, eyes wide with curiosity as they settled into their seats, eager to see this prominent figure speak. When Alexander stood before them, he didn't waste time with pleasantries. Instead, he addressed the audience with a fierce intensity that left no room for doubt about his purpose. "I know what happened here yesterday," he began, voice steady and commanding attention. Liam, someone who has only ever tried to help his family, was humiliated for no reason other than ignorance. His words struck like lightning in the room. Some students exchanged glances while others shifted uncomfortably in their seats, beginning to grasp the gravity of what had occurred. Principal Harris looked on nervously from the back of the auditorium, realizing that this would not be a typical assembly. "What should be celebrated is the hardworking janitor who raised Liam," Voss continued passionately. "Your principal's actions were not just inappropriate. They were unacceptable." The audience buzzed with surprise. No one had ever spoken out against authority in such a way before. "Many years ago," Alexander shared, his voice softer but full of emotion, "a janitor at this very school saved my life. He showed kindness when I needed it most, in a moment of darkness when I felt utterly alone." The hushed crowd leaned forward, sensing that Voss's connection to this story went deeper than mere admiration. He paused for effect, allowing the weight of his words to settle over them before continuing. "It is time we repay our debt to those who serve us quietly and often go unnoticed." The auditorium sat in stunned silence as Voss announced a $5 million scholarship in Liam's name. An initiative designed not just to honor Liam but also to recognize the dignity of work that goes unnoticed every day in schools like theirs. His intention was clear. Every child deserves respect and support regardless of their background or familial situations. "A new era must begin at Crestwood Elementary," he declared passionately. One where empathy reigns over ridicule and where kindness is practiced, not just spoken. As Voss concluded his speech, his eyes scanning the crowd filled with mixed expressions. Curiosity, admiration, confusion. The realization began to dawn on them. This was not merely about one boy or one incident. It was an awakening. In that electrifying moment filled with hope and possibilities, Liam's heart swelled with emotion as he pictured how this change could empower him and countless others like him. With Alexander Voss's commitment steering them into a brighter future, perhaps things would finally begin to shift for students at Crestwood Elementary, beginning with respect for everyone who walked through its doors. As the applause faded from Alexander Voss's powerful speech, he stood before the captivated audience, taking a moment to collect his thoughts. He could feel the weight of their curiosity pressing against him. They were eager to understand why he cared so deeply about a boy they barely knew and how he was connected to the school's janitor. "Many of you may not know this," he began, his voice steady but filled with emotion. "I once walked these very halls as a student, just like you. I had dreams and ambitions, but I also faced challenges that made those dreams feel far away." The students listened intently, their eyes fixed on him as if they were hearing a story that was both familiar and new. Voss continued, "When I was around Liam's age, life was not easy for me. My family struggled financially, and there were times when I felt lost and alone, much like how Liam must feel now." He paused, letting his words sink in. "But there was one person who always showed up for me, the janitor." A wave of recognition washed over some of the older faculty members who had known Voss as a student. They recalled how he had often stayed late after school to study or work on projects in the quiet comfort of an empty classroom. They also remembered the janitor's kind smile and gentle words that had made a difference in young Alexander's life. "It was during a particularly difficult time for me," Voss continued, "when I found myself in danger. I had gotten into trouble with some kids who thought it would be funny to bully someone smaller than them." He glanced at Liam, feeling an instant connection to their shared experiences of being targets of ridicule. "I will never forget that day," Voss said with intensity. "I was cornered in an alley behind the school when help arrived unexpectedly. It was your janitor, Liam's father, who stepped in without hesitation. He stood between me and my bullies and told them to leave me alone." The crowd gasped softly at this revelation. Many had never heard such a personal story tied to someone they knew so well, yet had taken for granted. "His bravery that day saved my life," Voss continued, emotion thickening his voice. "He didn't have to help me, he could have just walked away, but instead he showed compassion when it mattered most." The sincerity in his eyes reflected how deeply this memory impacted him even years later. Voss explained how that experience shaped him into the person he became, the successful businessman dedicated to giving back to those who might find themselves struggling against unfairness or cruelty. "It wasn't just about saving me. It was about showing kindness in a world where it can be so easily forgotten." The auditorium fell silent as students absorbed this heartfelt tale. They began to see their janitor not just as a man who cleaned up after them, but as someone with immense strength and character who played an essential role in shaping lives. "I stand here today not only to honor Liam but also to repay my debt of gratitude," Voss declared passionately. "This scholarship is more than money. It's a reminder that we each have the power to impact others' lives positively." He emphasized that every child deserved respect regardless of their background or circumstances, a message that resonated deeply within the hearts of those present. As Voss concluded his speech by reiterating his commitment to changing Crestwood Elementary for the better, Liam felt a swell of pride rise within him, a pride rooted both in his father's legacy and in his own identity as part of this community. "Let us stand together," Voss urged them all, "to create an environment where empathy reigns over ridicule, where kindness is our guiding principle. Not just words on posters but actions taken daily." With each word spoken by Alexander Voss echoing through the halls, more than just hope filled the air. It sparked determination among students and staff alike to join forces against bullying and injustice. Through the unveiling of their shared history and commitment toward change, both Liam's journey and Alexander's would intertwine further in ways none could have anticipated. In that moment, standing amidst friends and allies old and new, Liam felt empowered. not just as one boy facing adversity, but as part of something larger than himself. A movement fueled by compassion striving for transformation within Crestwood Elementary School. As Alexander Voss sat in his luxurious office, the glow of his computer screen illuminated his furrowed brow. He scrolled through social media as part of his routine when he stumbled upon the viral clip that would change everything. The video showed Principal Harris mocking Liam for smelling like bleach, a cruel display of power that struck a chord deep within him. Anger boiled beneath the surface as he watched the laughter erupt from the crowd of students, their jeers echoing in stark contrast to the kind of compassion he had been taught to value. Voss felt a rush of emotions as memories flooded back. Those formative years spent wandering the halls of Crestwood Elementary, filled with dreams and aspirations but also moments of vulnerability. He remembered feeling lost and alone, much like Liam must have felt during that humiliating moment. The laughter of the classmates he once knew now resonated painfully in his ears, mingling with the contrasting image of the janitor who had once saved his life. "Why isn't anyone stepping up?" he muttered under his breath, frustration coursing through him. How could those in positions of authority allow such cruelty to go unchecked? It was all too familiar. It was everything he had vowed to fight against when he achieved success. Voss's heart raced as he recalled how one man, the janitor, had shown him kindness in a moment when he needed it most. Driven by an unfamiliar yet powerful sense of purpose, Voss stood up from his desk and grabbed his coat. He was determined to act. The shame and humiliation directed toward Liam could not be tolerated any longer. He rushed out of his office and into his sleek black car, fully aware that he needed to take immediate action. The drive to Crestwood felt like a blur, each moment filled with anticipation and urgency. As he pulled up to the school, he was met with curious stares from students gathered outside, their eyes wide with wonder at the sight of a billionaire arriving on their campus. But this wasn't just about making an appearance. It was about addressing an injustice that had festered in silence for too long. Upon entering the school, Alexander demanded an assembly immediately. The principal's face paled as he realized who had walked through the doors. Voss's presence commanded respect, and it sent a ripple of uncertainty through the staff present. Students filed into the auditorium, their chatter fading into a hushed murmur as they settled into their seats, anticipation hanging heavy in the air. As Voss stepped onto the stage, he felt the weight of every gaze upon him, curiosity mixed with trepidation. "I know why I'm here," he began with firm conviction. What happened yesterday to Liam was not just inappropriate. It was inexcusable. His voice rang clear, cutting through the tension like a knife. He knew that many would question why he cared so deeply about a boy they barely knew. In that moment, Alexander chose to share his story. His own history as a student at Crestwood and how the janitor had saved him from bullying when he was vulnerable and alone. He spoke passionately about kindness and compassion when faced with adversity, urging students to remember that every individual has worth and deserves respect, regardless of their circumstances. "I will not stand by while another child suffers humiliation at the hands of those who are supposed to guide and protect them," Voss declared, anger simmering beneath his words. "Liam deserves better than this. Every child does." His outrage stirred something within both students and staff alike, a realization that they had allowed injustices to occur right before their eyes without ever speaking up. The gravity of his words began to sink in. They were witnessing a pivotal moment, one that demanded change not just for Liam but for everyone affected by a culture of bullying. Voss concluded his speech with a commitment. Today marks a new beginning for Crestwood Elementary. He announced the establishment of a scholarship in Liam's name to honor not only his resilience, but also to remind everyone that kindness should guide their actions moving forward. In that instant, hope ignited throughout the auditorium as students glanced around at one another, whispers turning into conversations filled with encouragement and determination. For Liam and every other student who had ever felt marginalized or bullied, change was finally within reach. Propelled by Alexander Voss's outrage and commitment to nurturing empathy and understanding within their community. With that powerful declaration ringing in their ears, Liam, who stood quietly among peers, felt emboldened by Voss's words. Perhaps this was more than just an end to humiliation. This was a beginning, a chance to create a brighter future where every student could thrive without fear. As the auditorium buzzed with whispers following Alexander Voss's passionate speech, a palpable shift began to occur. Students exchanged glances filled with curiosity and uncertainty, each wondering what this unexpected visitor had in store for them next. Voss observed the eagerness in their eyes and felt a sense of responsibility weigh heavily on his shoulders. He knew that the moment was ripe for change, and it was imperative to address not just the humiliation Liam endured but also the attitudes that permitted such behavior. Voss took a deep breath, his heart pounding with conviction. Today, he announced, marks not just an acknowledgement of Liam's pain but a turning point for every student at Crestwood Elementary. It is time for us to come together as a community, to foster an environment steeped in respect, kindness, and understanding. He paused for effect, allowing his words to resonate within the hushed room filled with eager listeners. I am calling for an assembly today, he continued firmly, making it clear that this was not a request but a demand rooted in urgency. We all deserve to feel safe, valued, and celebrated. Bullying has no place here. His declaration prompted murmurs among students and faculty alike, some expressing surprise while others nodded in agreement. This wasn't just another school assembly. It was a call to action meant to spark conversations about respect and compassion. From this day forward, Voss declared passionately, let's establish new values upon which our school culture will thrive. We will create programs that emphasize empathy and kindness throughout every grade level. The excitement began to build as visions of initiatives started dancing in the minds of eager students who longed for change. He smiled as he saw several hands shoot up from the crowd. The students were ready to participate actively in shaping their own environment instead of passively accepting whatever came their way. Voss encouraged them to share ideas on how they could contribute positively, suggesting clubs focused on inclusion or workshops designed around conflict resolution. In addition, he added thoughtfully, I will be working alongside faculty and staff members to generate training opportunities centered on recognizing bullying behaviors and learning how best to intervene. This news sparked interest among teachers who had quietly wished for better resources themselves. As discussions began brewing among students sitting side by side, a mosaic of different backgrounds coming together, Voss realized he had ignited something crucial. Hope. A wave of inspiration washed over him. He could see how deeply everyone craved connection and unity. The real work begins now, said Voss with conviction. We'll implement changes that honor every individual's journey, allow everyone here at Crestwood Elementary to shine. The applause swelled like a crescendo as students clapped enthusiastically in response. There was an energy in the air that hadn't existed before. It felt alive with possibility. They found strength not only in numbers but also through shared experiences, standing together against bullying that had too often gone unchecked. With this new direction set forth by Voss's ambitious vision, Liam stood quietly at the periphery yet couldn't help but feel empowered by what was unfolding around him. His heart raced as he realized that maybe this moment wasn't just significant for him personally. It represented collective healing for all those who had experienced similar feelings of isolation or ridicule. Confidence surged through Liam's veins as excitement danced within him. There was indeed strength found within vulnerability, a realization that emerged from witnessing others rally behind kindness and respect. No longer would he hide away feeling ashamed. Instead, he could be part of something monumental. As the assembly concluded with renewed purpose rippling through the audience, Alexander Voss stepped down from the stage feeling invigorated, not solely by gratitude but rather by an unwavering commitment toward creating lasting change within the school community he once called home. This was just the beginning. An opportunity not only for Liam but also for every student at Crestwood Elementary to define their narrative moving forward based on shared values rooted deeply in compassion and understanding toward one another's diverse journeys through life. Today marked more than mere words spoken. It marked hope taking flight within these cherished walls. As the applause settled, Alexander Voss stood tall at the front of the auditorium, embracing the silence that followed his rallying speech. He could see the seeds of change sprouting in the eager eyes of students and faculty alike, and he knew now was the time to dig deeper into his narrative, an opportunity to further connect with them on a personal level. I want to take a moment to reflect on my own journey, Voss began, his voice lowering to a more intimate tone that beckoned attention. I was once in your shoes, lost in a sea of faces, feeling invisible in a place that should have felt like home. His gaze swept across the audience, and for just a second, it felt like he was inviting every student to share in his past. I walked these very halls as a child, often feeling inadequate, much like Liam must feel now, he continued. The room remained rapt, each listener hanging on his every word. You see, I had dreams. I wanted to be someone who made a difference. But I also faced adversity, bullying that haunted my school days, especially during moments when I felt alone and overwhelmed. A murmur passed through the crowd, the realization settling in that this acclaimed billionaire had not always known such ease and success. Voss drew strength from those memories, the laughter of bullies echoing in his mind as he recalled that painful time. He paused, allowing their understanding to fill the space. What kept me going was a moment of bravery from someone you may not expect. A janitor at this school, Voss said. He saw me as more than just a target. He saw my potential for growth and kindness within. That man saved me from being crushed under the weight of ridicule when I needed help the most. His voice quavered slightly, a mix of gratitude for his past and indignation for what had been directed toward Liam. You might hear stories about individuals who appear larger than life when they are successful, but always remember, there was a person behind that success who needed compassion and kindness to find their footing. Voss turned his attention back toward Liam. Today is not just about spotlighting what Liam endured. It's about recognizing every individual, especially those who often go unnoticed. He took a moment to catch Liam's eye and offered a warm smile filled with encouragement. Liam, the hard work your father puts in every day deserves acknowledgement, not scorn, Alexander asserted. He and you should be celebrated for your contributions rather than belittled for them. Every single child has worth and has been handpicked for a purpose in this world. The response rippled through the audience as whispers turned to nods of agreement. Students began to shift uncomfortably in their seats as their reflections rose from within, many recalling their moments of feeling unseen or overlooked themselves. A sense of shared vulnerability filled the room. This is why we must foster an environment where respect is rooted firmly in our core values, Voss urged passionately, emphasizing the need for change against adversities inherent in silence around bullying. We cannot allow ignorance to prevail. We must stand together to uplift one another. The excitement filled the air again, charged with determination as hands shot up around the room. Students eager to contribute ideas on how they could enact real, lasting change. It became clear that this moment was no longer solely about Liam's experience, but about an entire generation ready to redefine what community meant. I will work alongside all of you, he continued fervently, to create programs dedicated to kindness and compassion in our daily lives so that everyone knows their value, from the custodial staff right up to administration. As Voss concluded his speech, he watched as hope ignited within the hearts of those present, a flicker turning into flames, ready to burn brightly against indifference. The stage had transformed from one merely highlighting pain into one illuminating possibilities for healing and connection. Liam felt an overwhelming swell of emotion fill him, no longer just one boy grappling with isolation but now part of something monumental where love outweighed fear. With each beat of his heart resonating with newfound strength, he realized today was not just about recognition. It was a call for redemption and respect for all people, regardless of their background. Together, united by compassion, Liam knew they could reshape Crestwood Elementary into a sanctuary where students thrived and supported one another unabashedly, creating pathways for acceptance instead of barriers born from cruelty. The journey ahead would require courage from every corner, but with shared purpose igniting their spirits, change felt closer than ever before. As the applause gradually subsided, Alexander Voss looked out over the auditorium filled with students and faculty. He could see the excitement and curiosity on their faces, and he felt a renewed sense of purpose. Today's assembly was not merely about acknowledging Liam's hardships. It was about building a brighter future for every student who walked through these halls. Now, I am proud to announce a significant initiative that I believe will empower students like Liam and support those from working-class backgrounds. Voss declared, his voice steady and resolute. I am establishing a $5 million scholarship in Liam's name. The words hung in the air, and a wave of astonishment swept through the room, followed by whispers of disbelief and excitement. Liam's heart raced as he heard his name echoed throughout the auditorium. Was this truly happening? The thought of a scholarship in his name felt surreal, yet Voss's sincerity shone through, indicating that this was more than just an announcement. It was a promise of support for those who often found themselves overlooked. This scholarship is designed to provide educational opportunities for students who face financial barriers, Voss explained. It will help ensure that talented individuals from all walks of life receive the support they need to reach their full potential. No student should ever feel limited by their circumstances. Students began to shift in their seats, their expressions transforming from confusion to excitement as they absorbed his message. There was a collective understanding that this scholarship represented not only financial assistance but also validation, an acknowledgement that their dreams mattered. Voss continued, in addition to the scholarship, we will implement programs aimed at promoting success among students from underprivileged backgrounds. We want to create pathways for mentorship, tutoring, and resources that can help guide individuals toward brighter futures. His passionate tone ignited enthusiasm among those present. Hands began shooting up around the room as students eagerly shared ideas on how they could contribute to fostering an inclusive environment. Liam felt a mixture of pride and humility wash over him. To think that his experience could lead to something so impactful for others was both exhilarating and grounding. He glanced around at his peers. Some who had once snickered at him during moments of vulnerability now looked at him with newfound respect. Their laughter had been replaced by admiration as they recognized the importance of standing together against bullying. Let this scholarship inspire us all, Voss urged. Let it serve as a reminder that kindness can change lives. Even one moment of compassion can ripple through time. The audience nodded in agreement, feeling unified by this shared vision of empathy and support. As he concluded his announcement, Voss emphasized that this new initiative would be just the beginning. We are committed to creating an environment where every student feels valued and has access to opportunities for growth, he promised fervently. Today is about defining our values as a school community, values rooted in respect for one another. The energy in the auditorium surged as applause erupted once again, a chorus of hope rising to meet Voss's words. Students exchanged smiles filled with determination. They were ready to be part of something larger than themselves. For Liam, standing amidst this wave of enthusiasm felt transformative. No longer did he think of himself as just the janitor's son, the boy who had been mocked for helping his father clean classrooms at night, but instead as a catalyst for change within this school community. This scholarship was not merely a financial opportunity. It was an affirmation that hard work deserved recognition and respect. As discussions blossomed among students regarding how they could work together to promote kindness and understanding within Crestwood Elementary, Liam found himself feeling empowered. The walls surrounding him no longer felt confining. Instead, they exuded potential for growth and connection. With Alexander Voss's commitment echoing in his ears, along with promises of support and compassion, Liam realized that today marked not just a turning point in his life, but also a collective awakening for all those present. Together, they would forge ahead with courage and purpose, creating pathways filled with acceptance where before there had been ridicule. The future suddenly felt bright, a landscape painted with possibilities where respect flourished and every individual had the opportunity to thrive. With each heartbeat resonating alongside newfound hope within Crestwood Elementary's walls, it was clear. Change had arrived at last, sparked by compassion and propelled forward by unity. As the applause from Voss's announcement of the scholarship began to fade, he sensed the moment was ripe to address a pivotal issue that had long gone unacknowledged at Crestwood Elementary. With deliberate intent, he stepped forward, ready to unveil his vision for a complete overhaul of the school's leadership, aiming to cultivate a more inclusive and supportive environment for all students. I believe we must not only recognize Liam's journey but also address the broader system that allowed such humiliation to occur in the first place, Voss stated firmly. His words resonated deeply within the audience, echoing their unspoken concerns. Leadership at this school must reflect the values we aspire to uphold, values rooted in respect, empathy, and accountability. The room buzzed with anticipation as Voss continued. It is time for us to reassess how we engage with our students, ensuring that every voice is not only heard but valued. We will look into the practices currently in place and seek out fresh perspectives from those most affected, our students. He could feel the energy shift within the auditorium. Students leaned in closer, eager to hear what these changes would entail. This means creating an environment where every student, regardless of their background, feels safe and empowered to express themselves without the fear of being ridiculed. Voss emphasized that change would not come easily. It required commitment from everyone, teachers, staff, and students alike. He proposed forming a committee composed of students who would represent their peers, voicing their concerns and ideas directly to school administrators. This committee will be instrumental in shaping policies that prioritize student welfare and well-being, he explained. You are crucial stakeholders in this community, and your insights are invaluable. The thought that their opinions would directly influence school policy ignited a spark of enthusiasm among the students. Several hands shot up in excitement as whispers filled the air regarding how they could contribute to these new initiatives. It became clear that they were ready to take ownership of their school environment. Furthermore, Voss continued, we will implement training programs for our faculty and administration focused on recognizing bullying behaviors and how to create inclusive classrooms. We need our educators equipped with the tools necessary to foster understanding rather than allowing ignorance or cruelty to flourish. His passionate convictions resonated with the staff members present, many of whom had quietly hoped for such change but lacked the platform to voice their aspirations. With Voss's bold commitment highlighting their shared goals, they felt reinvigorated by the prospect of positively impacting students' lives. Together, we will establish programs that celebrate diversity and unity, Voss proclaimed. Workshops centered around conflict resolution and peer mentoring will enable you all to support one another through challenges while building a stronger sense of community at Crestwood Elementary. As he concluded his announcement, Alexander felt a surge of hope wash over him. The sparks of change had ignited discussions among students about ways to promote kindness and acceptance, conversations that had been long overdue. Liam stood among his peers, feeling a deep connection to the unfolding events around him. No longer just a boy facing ridicule, he saw himself as part of a larger movement advocating for respect and understanding. The acknowledgement of his experience transformed into an opportunity for everyone at Crestwood to create a brighter future together. The laughter and mockery that had once haunted him were replaced by a sense of purpose. This new leadership structure would ensure that no student had to endure what he had faced again. Unity fueled by compassion was taking root within the auditorium, setting the stage for a new era at Crestwood Elementary. In that moment, every heart in attendance resonated with one another, a collective recognition of shared dignity and value. As students rallied together to share their ideas for fostering inclusivity, they realized that true empowerment came from standing together against adversity. With Voss leading the charge toward transformative change and Liam's story symbolizing resilience, Crestwood Elementary was poised on the brink of something extraordinary, an environment where respect flourished and every individual was cherished for who they were. The journey ahead would require courage, but as hope blossomed among them, students felt empowered to step boldly into this new chapter of their lives. As the new initiatives spearheaded by Alexander Voss began to take shape, Crestwood Elementary transformed into a place of renewed hope and purpose. Liam found himself at the heart of this change, no longer just a boy weighed down by humiliation but rather a symbol of resilience and strength within the school community. The atmosphere buzzed with excitement as students and faculty alike embraced the opportunity to redefine their culture. The newly established scholarship in Liam's name was not just a financial resource. It had become a rallying point for the entire student body. With each application submitted, all aimed at attending programs and workshops that fostered growth, students recognized that their hard work could lead not only to individual achievements but to collective progress. They were ready to uplift one another as they pursued their dreams. In classrooms across Crestwood, discussions about respect and kindness filled the air. Teachers introduced lessons focused on empathy and conflict resolution, enhancing their approach to education with newly acquired knowledge from training sessions organized by Voss. Faculty members engaged in reflective practices, considering how they could better support every student's journey, including implementing strategies for identifying and addressing bullying behavior. One afternoon, as the bell rang signaling the end of the school day, Liam watched as groups of students gathered in hallways buzzing with energy and laughter. He was struck by how different everything felt now. Students who had once remained silent during his moments of vulnerability were now collaborating to create an inclusive environment. "Hey, Liam!" called out a boy from his English class, waving enthusiastically as he approached. "We're starting a club for peer mentoring next week. Want to join?" Overwhelmed with gratitude, Liam nodded, feeling welcomed into the fold instead of ostracized. "Absolutely. That sounds amazing." As word spread about the mentoring initiative, it became clear that students were eager to contribute positively based on their shared experiences. The very struggles that had once isolated them now served as common ground for connection. Conversations about kindness were no longer confined to abstract ideals. They were turning into actionable commitments where students learned how to support one another through challenges. Voss's vision had catalyzed transformation across the student body. At lunchtime, groups huddled together discussing ways to promote kindness through new campaigns and events, each idea building upon another like a tapestry woven from diverse backgrounds and stories. They planned assemblies that showcased talents from all corners of the school community, poetry readings, talent shows, and art exhibits celebrating individuality, all reinforcing messages of acceptance and unity. Liam marveled at how things had shifted within such a short period. The janitor's son who had felt humiliated now stood among friends who acknowledged his worth. The walls that once bore witness to laughter at his expense now echoed with positivity, a sound that rang louder than any jeer ever could. One day after school, Voss returned to visit Crestwood again to check on progress made since his initial assembly. As he entered the bustling cafeteria filled with vibrant conversations and laughter, he couldn't help but smile at what had become of his vision. Students approached him eagerly to share updates about their initiatives, a clear demonstration of ownership over their environment. "Mr. Voss," one girl exclaimed passionately, "we're having our first Kindness Week next month. We want everyone involved." As students explained their plans for encouraging random acts of kindness throughout the school, everything from compliment cards placed on lockers to group volunteer days, they radiated confidence. This fire for compassion stirred something deep within Voss. He realized that this wasn't merely about policy changes. It was about cultivating character within individuals who would carry these values forward into adulthood. Seeing their engagement showed him that change was indeed sustainable. It would continue long after he left Crestwood's doors. Hope blossomed firmly like flowers breaking through concrete, proof that resilience can flourish even in challenging environments when nurtured by understanding. As weeks turned into months, Crestwood Elementary flourished anew, a sanctuary where respect reigned supreme over ridicule, where students celebrated differences instead of allowing them to divide, where compassion became synonymous with community values. For Liam, this journey held profound significance, not just as a personal triumph over adversity, but as part of something larger influencing future generations to come. Together, students and faculty alike, they would strive forward into uncharted territory hand in hand, shaping lives enriched by understanding while empowering everyone around them. The true essence of what it means to have a supportive community at Crestwood Elementary.